everyone. Welcome to the SpeakIn podcast. I'm Ananya from SpeakIn, Asia's largest digital learning platform for professional growth through one-on-one coaching and group learning sessions. In today's episode, we have a distinguished leader from Singapore who will share their personal corporate journey, insights on leadership, and a lot more. Our guest today is Sheela Parakkal. Sheela leads Prudential's efforts in developing future-ready leaders and fostering a high-performance culture for 14,000 employees. Previously, as Chief Human Resource Officer for Prudential Singapore, she shaped the people strategy and nurtured a value-driven organization. With a background at PricewaterhouseCoopers, she transitioned from auditing to human capital, focusing on talent development and regional HR leadership and syndicatum sustainable resources. She holds an MBA in banking and finance from Nanyang Technological University and is a certified public accountant. A Malaysian citizen and Singapore permanent resident, Sheila is also recognized as a master professional by IHRP. Thank you, ma'am, for being there with us today. It's truly an honor to be speaking to you. Welcome to the Speaking podcast.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. And, you said a voice to share my perspectives, which hopefully could be beneficial to the listeners.
Lovely. So to begin with, ma'am, can you please tell us a bit about your career journey and some of the key milestones that have shaped your professional path?
Yeah. So 2024 is my 30th year as a working professional, and I was just spending the weekend reflecting on the 30 years, and it's been nothing short of an exciting 30-year career. Primarily, I would say because I did make a career switch back in 2003. So you did mention that I am an accountant by training, so I started my career off as an auditor with PricewaterhouseCoopers. And I am, I made a very informed move to becoming a HR professional within the same organization 9 years into auditing financial institutions, hence the MBA in banking and finance. And I would say that defining moment in 2003 was probably the best career decision I ever made in my life. I'm a decent accountant, decent auditor, but I must say that I found my calling in the HR profession. I was very fortunate to be given an opportunity to just literally respray myself as a HR member of the HR community in the same organization. And it's been a very rewarding 21 years in HR, primarily because I've had the opportunity to start from scratch, learn something which I was not trained to do, but something which I picked up on the job. We all speak about learning on the job. I must say my training on the job was tremendous, particularly in the first few years. The exposure to the right level of leadership to help shape my my skills as a HR professional, particularly in the early years, were very, very instrumental. But I would say that I am here in 2024 speaking as a seasoned HR professional only because I was given chances. I took those chances. I was curious enough to learn something and not hang on to my qualifications, for want of a better word, curiosity to learn something new. And that's exactly what took me out of PricewaterhouseCoopers after 17 years, the curiosity to venture out into my second employer, only then second employer, but also go and learn about a new industry, which was clean energy and project development in the clean energies, in the sustainable sector. And then coming back to financial services a couple of years later, etc. So it's my career journey is nothing short of excitement, but every step of the way I've been supported by great leaders, great mentors, but more importantly, I guess also a very strong sense of wanting to challenge myself to see how much further I can go as well. So that's a very long-winded answer to a very short question.
Indeed, it's been an inspiring journey, and there's so much to learn always, as you did mention. Moving forward, ma'am, what core principles guide your leadership philosophy, and how do you inspire your team to achieve excellence?
That's a very big question, and leadership in itself is a role that is not to be taken for granted. It's a role that is more than just entitled. In fact, very often I remind myself and the people that I have an opportunity to coach and mentor that leadership is actually a privilege. And what do I mean by that? As leaders, um, we're all in a trusted position to guide the organizations that we choose to associate ourselves with, and guide the organization not just to financial gain, but be a noteworthy organization that does good by its people, its communities, its customers, its shareholders, etc. So being a leader is just not being about subject matter expert. That's absolutely important, but that gets you only so far. But it's about how you then are able to guide a group of people who actually choose to follow you, right? And that's a very important notion that we've got to be very cognizant about, that we only get to lead because people choose to follow us. And therefore, if you treated that very, like it's very precious, then as a leader, you will spend an inordinate amount of time not just getting the things done, but how things are done. Do you do it yourself? Do you do it with your team? Do you nurture your team to take risks? Or do you always limit your team in terms of how they show up? Your success is very strongly interwoven with that of your team. But understanding your team, building your team to replace you is something that I hold very dear to my heart as well. And therefore, I think being a leader is being able to look at yourself and say that I'm able to replace myself one day, but while I'm in seat, I will lead the people to become better versions of themselves. I will lead the organization such that the organization benefits from my team. And I will lead in such a way that I inspire my people to become leaders who inspire others as well. So that's essentially my philosophy about leadership. I don't have a magic pill. There's lots of books on leadership to read. But what I find most compelling to remind myself every day is that leadership is a privilege and you are there to serve.
Perfect. A beautiful take on leadership, ma'am, and the way you put it into words was actually very well said and truly inspiring. Moving forward, could you share a quote or mantra that probably inspires you and keeps you motivated?
So if you have the opportunity to visit our office here in Singapore, there's a very nice corner that we have where certain meeting rooms are. On the wall is the quote, "Be the change that you want to see in others," right? Mahatma Gandhi, right? So be the change. It starts with me. And in every instance or interaction, I often ask myself, what can I do differently to to contribute to the desired outcomes versus expecting changes from others? And if I was able to be that single voice advocating something, then what could that mean be it for the people, the organization, the community, the country? So for me, that quotation by Gandhi is a favorite, has been for a long time since I saw Ben Kingsley as Mahatma Gandhi in 1980. But more importantly, about the fact that it starts with me. And if I believe in that, then I can definitely bring about changes that are not just obvious, but sustainable changes as well.
Lovely, ma'am. Moving forward, with the next question, what personal values or principles guide your decision-making process, both in professional and personal life?
So I'm sure you're aware of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And when you get down to level one, everyone speaks about survival needs and that which meets financial needs, etc. One of the values that are still fairly core and lower down the hierarchy is one of respect. And for me, I think this personal value is really core to my heart because growing up, um, I, I never felt like I was the youngest child of the family. My voice was respected in my family. So I'm the youngest of three girls, and I'm not young, so I grew up in an era where it was slightly different for children, where you were meant to be seen and not heard. But even in such a context, when I was growing up and clearly had a lot of things to say, I was respected. My voice was heard. And therefore, for me, this core value of respect holds true in a lot of interactions across, whether at home with my three daughters, whether it's with friends, whether it's professionally. Respect is to be accorded to everyone, regardless of their status in life. Someone could be the most junior person in the team, but they could have something to say, which is really going to shift the dial. So for me, respect kind of governs a lot of things that I expect that, and I hope I am perceived to be extending that as well when it comes to treating your fellow human being. I'm very, very big on equity and fairness. If there's anything that triggers me is if there's any indication of a lack of either. And I am known to be a strong advocate for fairness and equity, and maybe a little too loud sometimes, but all with an intention of, again, going back to the fundamental principle of respecting individuals and what they have to offer. And finally, for me, it's all about humility. So no matter where you get to in life, never forget where you come from. More importantly, never forget that we are all in pursuit of more to learn and becoming better versions of ourselves. So being humble and being able to listen and learn from others, I think is also critical, and which actually gets me very excited to continuously learn from many young professionals around me.
Lovely, ma'am. Great. And believe the young professionals are also waiting to learn from everyone and embark on such a journey. Um, Truly very inspiring, motivating. And lastly, who has been the most influential person in your career, and what valuable lesson did you learn from them?
Yeah, sure. So I will have to say it's my late husband. So I met my late husband at PricewaterhouseCoopers. So we were colleagues. And in fact, he was someone I worked with in the organization as well. Um, why have I chosen to speak about him is because, I think just from a perspective of being a very principled professional, someone who, was throughout his career, very, very clear about choices he made, how he interacted with clients, the position, the fiduciary position that he held, not just in PricewaterhouseCoopers, but his subsequent employers as well. And dealing with these roles in a way that he was truly respected by one and all is kind of a gold standard I hold today, right? And he used to simplify how easy it was to be consistent, right? And for me, that in itself is again a checkpoint in terms of how I show up in my everyday interactions with everyone around me. So am I being consistent in what I say and I do? Am I being consistent in how I view things? Am I being consistent in acknowledging when I'm not certain if I'm on the right track? So just this whole aspect of being true to self, being led by principles, and also being consistent is why I choose to see him as my role model.
Beautiful, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights and experiences with us today. It was a pleasure to have you on the SpeakIn podcast. To our listeners, thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with us for more inspiring conversations with Asia's top leaders. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on our social media platforms. Thank you.